Welcome, dearest listeners, to the very first session of Queen of Daggers, Heart of Fire. I am your occasionally humble game master, Asteria, and I am joined by 4 brilliant players. We're going to find out how we play this game and what is going to happen to their beautiful creations. Daggerheart is a brand new system put out by the people at Critical Role, published by Darrington Press. It is so new, in fact, it has not yet been published. We are making this game based on the 1.5 version of the playtest. This is maybe coming out before the publication of the final version, so when you play, things might be slightly different. Who knows? We are very much in love with what we know about Daggerheart, and we hope you will be as well. Before I say more about that, let us meet our exquisite players. Ben, how are you?
Hi, Asteria. I'm good. How are you?
I'm lovely, thank you. Where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from beautiful Massachusetts, where it's just past peak.
And will you tell us the name of your hero?
Yeah, sure. If you need to know that. I'm playing Lemma, and both Lemma and I are he/him.
Thank you very much. Katie, hello.
Hi, Asteria. How are you?
I'm lovely, thank you. And where are you right now?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois.
And who are you bringing to the table?
I am bringing Evelyn Ravenwood.
Thank you. And David Skeist, hello.
Hi there.
Where are you?
I am in beautiful Brooklyn, New York.
Beautiful it is. And who is your player character, please?
Yes, he is OrLeon at the moment.
Stay tuned for more, darling listener. And Carmela.
Hi, I'm Carmela Smith, joining you from Jacksonville, Florida. And I am playing Ginny Sheridan. Her pronouns are she, her.
Thank you very much. I'm joining you all from lovely Newark, New Jersey. Again, my name is Asteria, but you will come to know me by many names. My general pronouns are she and or they, but let us move onwards into the game. And don't worry, listeners, like I said, we're learning the game. I'll do my best to explain what we're doing to you as well as to each other. We're in this together, for the most part. I am our player's greatest fan and fiercest foe. Hopefully I have the strength to make things very difficult for them indeed, and not just give them everything they want because they're so damn cute. Darkness isn't quite where we begin. Darkness is something you can see. When you close your eyes, for example. Keep them open now. Hold your head quite still. There's a whole world behind you. It isn't dark, just isn't there. Not to you. That's how people live in the realm of Lacuna. They don't know how to turn and look at that world, stuck behind the ward. The caudal ward, that miracle our twin queens hold up twixt us and annihilation. But you two, of course, are different. That's why you're here. You are here. Yes. OrLeon and Ginny. You kneel on the ground, on the edge of the Larksong Wood, just outside the Conjuries, the abbey-like school you call home. The imposing elven woman before you who has just asked you, "Are you here?" is Primer Mantua. Let's call her the headmistress of this school. Before we describe you all, let me ask you, are you here? Why, for each of you, What is she reacting to? Why does she feel like you're not quite engaged with this lesson, this tutorial? Ginny, what are you struggling with in this communion?
Still, I don't like to do nothing. And sitting here and kneeling down here on the floor when I could be doing something else, helping somebody out with, carrying stuff around, tending to the garden, pulling up the weeds. Instead, I'm kneeling on the ground and trying to listen, and that's kind of hard.
And what does Mantua see when she looks at you?
She sees me fidgeting my fingers, and I tap the tips of my hooves against the ground behind me, trying to be still. And it is so hard to be still. So she sees me doing a lot of fidgeting. I look like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which also makes me very nervous.
And Ginny is a fawn, yes? Could you also
Yes, Ginny is a fawn.
give us a quick physical?
Sure. She is a fawn. She has light brown skin, color of baked clay, amber-colored eyes, russet brown hair, always pulled back into a ponytail, away from her face and out of the way. She is probably average human height. She's the tallest person in her family, but around here she seems to be able to look most folks in the eye. And she would rather be doing anything else. She is used to working on a farm, lifting bales of hay, moving, tending to livestock. She's a very sturdy built girl.
So Ginny is the newest student here at the Larkson Conjuries, and OrLeon is the second newest, I believe. But you've both been here a little bit. This isn't your first lecture or, study session with the primer. What about this is something in you resisting or not grasping onto?
My experience of what I've now come to learn is the caudal ward, I think that's what they call it here, has always been it has found me in moments, but I have never gone looking for it. And I'm just not so sure how I feel about that. Something about it feels a little too deliberate. It is a sensation of freedom and unpredictability and disorder that pulls me into my communion with the caudal ward, and it doesn't quite feel like me to focus my way in like this.
And could you describe OrLeon for us?
OrLeon has perpetually windswept or scruffled hair, dark. He wears glasses. His sense of style seems to be a considered chaos, and that both goes for his sartorial style and his behavioral style, his aesthetic in general. He's pretty tall by human standards, though he recognizes that human standards are far from universal in size, shape, and scope. His facial expression tends to range between wry smirk and befuddlement.
The woman before you, it's hard to tell if she's kneeling or sitting under her robes. Primer Mantua is an elf. She is hundreds of years old, so she looks 50. Though to the two of you in your teens, maybe there's not that big of a difference. You would guess that she is very handsome, but as with many elves of her age, she has acquired her mystic form, meaning some aspect of nature that she's devoted herself to has left its mark upon her. And for Primer Mantua, this is shadow. She is, as you are studying to be, a poet of Lacuna, one of the magic workers, one of the people born with the ability to use this caudal ward and influence events in a certain way. And she has devoted herself to the study of shadow. So it is very difficult to see all of her at once. Shadow settles upon her. The students at the Larkson Conjuries have arguments about how much control she has over this, because it seems to work to great dramatic effect. Often her eyes seem spotlit, as they do now, though it is broad daylight, late morning, as she fixes you in her moonlit gaze. Though you haven't responded to her verbally, either of you, she seems satisfied that she has your attention. Her eyes are not unkind, after all. They just don't seem to miss anything. She continues. Mortal minds may call it darkness. They reach for what they know. Mortal lay folk, you know how it is in my age. Life and craft blend into shadow. But do try, however it is that your mind feels the caudal ward. I know that it is difficult for you, so new to this. You have felt it all your lives. Remember that the people of Lacuna have not. They see what is in front of them. They hear, they feel, they smell, even memories. They only know that which was not locked away. The Queen of Rain and the Queen of Harrows, they hold up this ward to protect us from great evils, from destruction, but much else was locked away. Perils that not everyone can see. Think now about how you experience that barrier, the part that is porous for you, that lets those things in that no one else was aware of when you were a child. The uncomfortable things, the strange things. How did you interact with that? For me, it was always very visual, and the two of you are here together because you both have an innate power. It's not like Evelyn studying books, or Lemma with his words. There's something deep within you both. It was the same for me, and it can be harder to make a practice out of. So now here at the wood, where the ward is strong and the power dangerous, think, feel out for it. And I'd like you both, each, to make a roll. I'd like you to tell me what role you think it should be to try to connect and understand your connection with the caudal ward, this powerful barrier.
Try and do it through instinct.
Mm-hmm.
Sense what's around me and not so much think about it, but just see if it comes to me. So I want to use an instinct roll.
All right. And so instinct being one of the main 6 abilities, are you using any particular instinct skill, or just did you want it to be a straight instinct roll?
I want it to be a straight instinct roll.
Yeah, you don't have any experiences that would apply here, really, right?
No. So that's the 2d12s, right?
What I would ask of you right now is to actually only roll one of them.
Okay.
But you can add +2 because I've given you all for free the starting experience of Poet of Lacuna.
Okay.
Now, for everyone listening, I'm doing something a little odd on this roll. The central mechanic for players in Daggerheart is rolling 2d12. They're duality dice, which I'll explain soon. But for a specific reason, I'm asking Carmela to just roll 1d12.
I rolled a 4 on the die, plus 1 instinct, plus 2, so that's 7.
And David, what would you like to roll?
I think I would like to use Clarity of Nature.
Ooh. And that is one of your class features, correct? Yes, as a warden, a subclass feature, as a warden of renewal druid.
Yeah, and that's an instinct roll.
You may create a space of natural serenity around you.
Yeah, I think I'm looking for clarity for
Now,
myself.
normally what this does is clear a stress, which I don't believe you have.
Okay,
But,
yeah, no, I don't have any.
But I will let you. I'll give you advantage on this roll because of it, because it's so perfectly suited to this. So you can. So please roll 1d12, and add +2 for being a poet of Lacuna, and then roll 1d6 and add that to it. So in Daggerheart, advantage is you roll 1d6, and disadvantage is you subtract 1d6.
6, 4.
So that's 10 plus the 2 from being a poet of Lacuna, so that is a 12. Ooh. Ginny, I think, if I may, that you go into this feeling like it's not going to go well. There was a little bit of maybe guilt. She accused you both of not paying attention, and so you assumed she was right and going a little wrong-hooved. And yet, something clicks. Tell me what it's like when you connect with your power in this moment.
It feels like warmth is coming out of the ground underneath my knees and then travels up and through my spine all the way up into where it reaches the top of my head, and just a warmth settles over me, almost like there's a small bit of sunshine inside of my body trying to get out.
I think for OrLeon, it's the opposite. You have this zone of serenity, and you reach out instinctively for Cosmene, your other. And you immediately feel her. Perhaps would it be in character to say you feel an ethereal hand in yours? Is that something that might happen? What would be an initial point of connection with your other beyond the ward?
It can be a hand if that's the kind of mood she's in. It can be a flick to the temple, or a poke to the ear, or a tickle. But sometimes it's a hand. Usually if it's a hand, I know it's serious.
Let's say then it is, instead, what you feel at first is a hand on the back of the head, like a tap. And then, all of a sudden, the hand turns your head very forcefully, and you are looking in the Ginny's direction. And Ginny and OrLeon, you are locking eyes. And suddenly you realize you are connected. You are seeing the same thing, that you have together pushed back the ward, rather than doing it in your own way and seeing different parts of what's behind the ward. You are seeing exactly the same thing. Ginny, please describe the beast that you see.
It's... the shape of it doesn't come forward immediately. It's amorphous. It's a dark shape. And as I look more closely at it and try to focus and push all the other things back, it stands on 4 legs and it postures up. So it brings its forward legs, stands up straighter, and it's got ragged, dark fur. And I look closer. I don't want to look at it, but I look closer, and it's wolf-like, but I know it's not a wolf. It's not like a wolf I've ever seen before. But if I were to try to describe it in a simple term, it is a monstrous wolf.
Do either of you do anything before I go on?
Well, my first instinct is to reach for a weapon, something to defend OrLeon and myself in Mantua from the beast, put myself between it and them.
I would use nature's tongue to try to talk to it.
See? Make an instinct roll, please.
That's me?
Yes, OrLeon. Please roll 1d12.
3.
That does not succeed.
You just wanted to roll the 1, not the duality?
Correct.
Okay.
And Ginny, so you're saying you were drawing your weapon?
If we were leaning on experiences a little bit,
Yes.
I'm an intimidating presence.
Yes.
And I'm also pick on someone your own size.
Yes.
So my first instinct is to get between this beast and the people that
Oh,
are
I
near
see.
me.
Yes. You can
So-
absolutely get between this beast and Primer Mantua.
Mhm.
Can you give me a perceive roll?
Perceive roll. Okay.
1d12, please.
1d12. So that's presence. Got it. No, instinct.
Instinct. Sorry. Yes.
Yes. And then I add the +1 and then the +2. Okay. So that's 8 on the die, +1 on the instinct, and +2. So 11.
Okay. Yeah. Success. Primer Mantua is undisturbed. She is still sitting as though in thought in communion. Just so you know.
Okay. Well, that's confusing because there's a monster
Yes.
in front of me. And I mean, maybe she has such faith in me that I'm going to stop it from getting to her that, you know, she feels calm about it. I don't know. That's weird.
And
What is this?
you say that out loud
Yes.
to Mantua.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks up at you in a little bit of, not surprise, almost looks impressed. And she says, "Tell me more, dear." And you feel you're about halfway between her and the wolf. The wolf is not, the wolf type thing is not right on your face, but you feel, it's not heat per se, but you feel a wave, pulses of some sort of energy. You know, you feel a presence that makes you feel that it is truly there. You know, if it were an illusion, then it's some real powerful illusion.
Right.
And I'm going to call that your turn for the moment,
Okay.
because then you feel an ethereal hand grip your shoulder. And because you're connected with OrLeon, you know that it is a very similar feeling to the one he had on the back of his head, though not as strong. It's actually more, not your shoulder, but almost like the collar, the back of your shirt.
Okay.
And the beast transforms into a very tall shape of a woman. Massive, massive. Neither of you feel the hands on you anymore. It towers over you, and I think both of you smell the scent of burning coming from the woods. OrLeon, I would like you to make me another roll to reach out to Cosmene.
It is an untethering. It's not so much a reach as a release into. It is an opening to receptivity. So I note everything that I can hear. I note everything that I can see. I accept that this is the world around me, and I accept that I can let it go. And then I wait, and I hope, and I allow. I listen for a sign. I wait for I open to the feeling of a breath on the back of my neck, of a whisper, of a touch, and sometimes it comes and sometimes it doesn't.
You know what? No roll required. You feel a playful little flick on the back of your ear. And both of you, the scent disappears, and the giant, I'm calling her shadow because you don't really have a word for what she's made of. She shrinks and dissolves and disappears. There's no beast. There's no figure. Primer Mantua is looking up at you with curiosity, Ginny. And everything is fine.
What was that?
You tell me. You tell me, Ginny, what happened? It seems you made a profound connection. You've been fighting that, I think.
Maybe. It was very confusing because it was a wolf and then it wasn't a wolf. So no one's in any danger. We're okay.
What do you, and you see her You see her look around physically a little bit, but you know she's also doing something internal that is looking around mystically beyond where her head is turning. And she says, a bit carefully, there's no wolf. I know when your powers were kindled, there was a wolf involved, and if you'd like to come discuss such things with me later, or if there's any primer you'd like to discuss this with, I know you're still new to your own poetry, and the communities we come from often don't understand. It can be very jarring, this transition. And she's not looking at OrLeon. She just thinks this is a thing you saw.
Right. It's okay. Everyone's safe? Everything is okay? Did anyone else feel someone pulling on your shirt, or was that something else from the veil?
And before anyone can respond, a large shadow falls over you. A familiar one. And a giant gray bird circles over you. A harpy eagle. And Mantua looks up, says, Augury. I think she has a message for us. Perhaps Soren has already returned and encountered Primer Ambrose on his patrols. And right on cue, this giant, terrifying gray raptor, such a good girl, circles down and lands next to her. Since Primer Mantua is still on the ground, this bird is about as tall as her. Comes up to her shoulder, and she has a letter in her beak, still sealed. Primer Mantua holds out her hand, and Augury opens her beak and drops it. Augury settles in, and the two of you would know that she's completely open to pets, if anyone wants to come stroke her feathers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I welcome the distraction from, I feel like I've embarrassed myself, so I just go over and I, softly stroke the feathers on the top of her head.
And she makes horrible sounds that you know are sounds of welcome and contentment.
Yes, it helps me hide the burning in my cheeks as I just sit here and
She does
enjoy my time.
one enormous flap that is kind of whoosh-like. Mantua reads the letter quickly and pulls from somewhere in the folds of her shadowy robes pen and paper of her own, scribbles something down, a noticeable crease in the part of her forehead that is illuminated. It says, oh dear. All right. I'm wondering, we will have to leave this session here. Could one of you be a dear, Ginny, perhaps? Could you bring this note to Soren? And she hands you the note she just wrote.
Okay.
Our foray to Caramel, we're going to have to move it up. We're going to have to go a little bit sooner. I have some things to attend to. Let Soren know the details are here. OrLeon, could I just speak to you for a moment, if you could hang back just a moment, as they say?
Sure.
I've been given a task, and I'm real good at those. So I go ahead and I give Augury one last little scritch, and I move with purpose in the direction of where I know Soren usually is. Oh, sorry.
Before you go, I just want to ask you, are you okay?
You see...
That was weird, right? You okay?
Yeah, it was... You see, like, something pass over her eyes, and then she just goes back to her cheery smile. She goes, yeah, everything's good. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
And she
Bye.
walks away. Goodbye.
And Augury kind of looks at everyone, sees that a message has been given to someone other than her, and takes off. OrLeon, thank you for staying. It won't be long. I simply, as an educator, I don't typically enlist the help of students with other students, primarily because it doesn't work. It's usually a bad idea. But you're a very astute young man and sensitive in your way, and I would never ask you to inform upon your peers or betray any confidences. But I hope you'll... I wonder if you know how Lemma is faring.
I mean...
Apologies. You don't need to tell me
No.
anything. I trust that any of you would come to me if you needed my intervention or assistance, but I hope that you are all talking with each other and keeping an eye out for each other. As I was just saying with Ginny, the transition here, our gift, poetry, is a beautiful thing and a necessary thing, directly from the two queens themselves. Rain and Harrows be praised. But it makes us alien to our own kin. Lemma's been here longer than you, I know, and he has Evelyn as a friend, but do check in on him for me. He seems a bit of a tough nut to crack.
Okay, I'll ask. I don't know if he'll tell me anything, but I'll check in.
And how are you?
I feel excited. Something's stirring. I don't know what it is. I feel less alone, and I feel like something's happening.
I'm going to have Primer Mantua do an instinct roll. And I have made character sheets for all of the primers, kind of just for fun. So I'm going to hold them to the same rules. I gave her the experience, something's different, and I don't remember what I meant by that, but I think it applies here. That's a pretty good roll. How long have you felt that way, OrLeon?
Sort of a matter of weeks, really. But there wasn't a specific moment it started. I feel like messages are coming. I feel like the border between us and everything else is a little looser. I don't know, something. The presence of uncertainty feels much more tangible than it has before. And I think I like it.
Possibilities are very clearly swirling in her mind, though she has a good poker face, as experienced educators tend to. GM question. Would you have specifically not told the primers here about Cosmene's existence? Was that something you would have hid?
I don't know. I think maybe the most interesting choice is that I tell some of them about her, and maybe some not.
The mantra says, your friend, your longtime companion, has she been active more so lately? Has she shown you things from beyond the ward?
It's like she's playing games. You know, sometimes she shows me things. She just showed me that wolf.
You saw it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, everything. I saw it all. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the first time that I've seen the same thing as somebody else. I didn't know Cosmene could talk to anybody else. And at first I was a little mad, but then I just felt so happy that someone else was in there. But as soon as it was done, she flicked me in a way that I knew it was a game. It was okay. It was a joke or something. And I think she's doing that a lot. I'm feeling her pokes and taps a lot, but sometimes she shows me something and sometimes it's like, I can't hear her, but sometimes I can sense her laughing as she putters away before I'm able to see anything.
Thank you, OrLeon. I have some thinking and perhaps some research to do. It's good that we'll be going to Coromel and thus back from Coromel sooner so we can talk about this more, and here at the wood where we are closer to it all. It's good that you're here. You can run along. Thank you for staying.
Oh, wait. I just thought of something.
Yes, please.
that I noticed about Lemma. You know how he always talks to himself? It's like he's always making up words to himself. Lately, it has seemed like he's answering too.
Answering.
I don't know. Like he's talking to himself back and forth. Normally it seems like he's just writing in his mind, but lately it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. I'm sure it's nothing.
Very little is nothing.
I'll see you later.
Thank you, OrLeon. Do you think OrLeon follows Ginny to visit Soren in the stables or wherever he is, or do you go elsewhere?
No, I go to another. I stay along the border with the woods, but just move to another area of the grounds, but still kind of away from all the action. I just want to be on my own for a little bit.
Then we will follow Ginny for now. Ginny,
Yes.
you are bearing Mantua's message?
Yes.
Soren, who is the only grown-up, shall we say, the only staff of the Larksong Conjuries, who is not a poet. He is a lay person, a normal human man with no special powers. He tends the horses. He's sort of a groundskeeper, hostler, etc. Does the deliveries and delivery runs to the nearby capital of Boreas for the things that the Conjuries can't produce on its own. You fish at the nearby stream and you grow your own fruits and vegetables, but there are things like books and some specialty weapons and clothing, etc. that he makes regular trips and often takes you places. And he's generally a very competent, friendly man. So you would probably look for him first at the stables, especially since he's just returned from Boreas. So I assume that is where you are going.
Yes, I am making the quickest and most efficient way to the stables so I can get him this note.
He meets you there. He is returning to the stables himself from somewhere else within the grounds of the Conjuries. Ginny, good morning. So
Master
good to
Soren.
see you.
Good to see you as well. I bow my head to him. I have a...
Again, Ginny, no need for formalities. I'm not a poet or dreamer.
Well, you tend to the horses and you keep everybody stocked and well supplied. I think you're deserving of respect.
As are you. An honor to be respected. An honor to care for people who care for us here in Lacuna. And his accent. Anyone here would know his accent as a Wardvale accent. Human types who grew up in communities near the edges of Lacuna, like near forests such as this one. Soren is, it's a little hard to gauge his age, but he's especially again for teenagers who rarely know how old anyone is. He's maybe late 20s, a blonde man, someone who doesn't necessarily look that strong, but then you see him just deadlift, crates or hay bales. And so apparently he usually has a smile on his face, strangely handsome, because of he has one damaged eye. It's cloudy. There's a little scar. It's not a big scar. It's just kind of an interesting feature to your knowledge, Ginny. Like no one's asked about.
Right.
He's just so terminally polite, and he talks about basically everything except for that. So you certainly would never ask.
Of course. No, Soren reminds me a bit of home. Very polite, tending to the animals and such. So Ginny is, I'm comfortable here in the stables, much more comfortable than I just was.
What can I do for you this morning, or are we just here for a chat?
Oh, well, I'm always happy to chat with you, Soren. And she holds the letter. I hold the letter out in front of me. I'm bringing you this from Primer Mantua. She received the letter from Augury and had a response for you.
Oh, Primer herself. Yes, I ran into Ambrose on my way back. And he tells you exactly what Mantua, she'd nailed it just from seeing the bird. Because she's like that. And so he opens it up. It says, Carmela tomorrow. Without...
Yes, she said something about we have to leave sooner.
And she's not coming with us. All right.
She's not? Is that strange?
It's... Well, to Carmela... It's been a while since I've gone the Oxgang Road without a poet. But then I will have 4 poets, won't I? So, it is fine. No, it is...
Are you sure?
If you'd like to make a roll.
Yeah. Let's
He's only ever going to tell you it's fine.
I guess try to get a sense of where he's at.
1d12, please.
1d12? Okay. So we're not doing duality rolls for these. Okay.
Nope.
It's prologue dice.
Prologue dice. Got it.
Ooh, maybe it is.
Yeah, 6 on the
I'm
die,
sure it'll always
plus-
be this way.
plus 1. So I guess I got a 7.
Dirty 7, as they say. Yeah, he's... everything's fine. He told you... He obviously seemed nervous about it. Something about Oxgang Road.
Okay.
He told you. He you don't think he's lying or anything. It's just... He's surprised like you are. He hasn't gone this road, without a full-fledged poet. You're revising poets, the 4 of you, as the saying goes. So, I mean,
Okay.
I definitely think it's a surprise to you because he's like, this is what he does.
Right.
He protects people. He's tough.
Right.
So
I respect that.
But he shook it off.
Sure.
The whole thing's weird.
Master Soren, is there anything I can do to help you to prepare for our now updated trip? Do you need any help with the horses or any help packing or anything like that? I'm more than happy to assist.
Thank you. You make sure all your friends are ready. We will want to go very early in
Of
the
course.
morning. Yes. Alert. You know how it is. The trip here is not that long, but we want to make sure we do it in one day.
Okay. All right, we can do that.
A question for the others, for Katie and Jabin. So he was just in the library. Would either of you have been there?
Oh, yes.
That would Lemma have been there as well?
Let's say yes. Yeah, Lemma's also there.
I was just bringing some books to Premier Catania in the library. Some of your friends were there. Evelyn, of course, and I believe Mr. Lemma was there. Please look for them and tell them, like we were just saying.
Sure,
And
I can do
he's
that.
looking back at the note, and he's obviously doing planning things in his head.
Okay. Is there anything you need? Anything else you need brought to the library? Any other books or anything like that? I am I'm wringing my hands. I want something to do with my hands.
And he just smiles at you. You're very sweet, Ginny.
Okay.
And
Well,
he gives
thank you.
He does know how to wink, despite the he is able to wink despite with his good eye he winks, and it somehow it works.
It worked on me. Okay. Thank you, Master Soren. I will go find them in the library, and I'm moving all over this Condries today.
It's just Soren.
Sure thing, Master Soren. And I go off towards the library.
Where better to wait patiently than the library? Library of the Conjuries. No doubt exactly what you're imagining. It is eclectic. All stone walls and wooden shells. There is a system. Who knows that system? One woman. Premier Catania. Premier Catania, our librarian, a human woman. She doesn't just look 50s, she likely is 50s. Voluminous hair. It is all gone gray, and it's perfect. She is at her giant desk. She herself is small in stature, large in presence. She somehow, despite being a librarian who moves in silence, has the most enormous boots. Like big hair, big boots, tiny, silent woman. As typically, there is a sign on her desk that, depending on how it's flipped, it says whether or not you are free to approach her, because she is usually in the process of reading and writing letters. Right now, it is flipped. It says, yes, come talk to me. And she is She has opened on the desk a very large tome that, actually, let's go back a little bit to before Ginny arrives. Soren has just dropped off a few books of various, mostly normal sizes. As Soren departs, let's talk about what Lemma and Evelyn are up to in the library. The sign on her desk is still at walk away.
Well, Evelyn sees the book delivery, and her curiosity is, of course, piqued. And she's sort of inching subtly closer to the desk to see what these new arrivals are all about, while trying not to be intrusive, failing, and look like she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, which is studying.
And could you describe Evelyn, please?
Yeah, Evelyn is human. She's a little taller than average. She's maybe 5'7". She has a big mass of like brown curly-ish hair that's always pinned up very messily and always in a state of about to burst loose. And she's slender, and she generally, like at the beginning part of the day, she has a very buttoned up appearance, skirt, shirt, jacket, or vest, or whatever. By the end of the day, she's just she doesn't know where she left her jacket, and her sleeves are rolled up, and she's kind of got everything's loose and disheveled, and she has to spend a considerable amount of time collecting her things from various places where she's deposited them. She wears glasses, round ones perched all the way on the end of her nose just for reading, and she has big brown eyes.
And what's Lemma's deal as we find him in this moment? What's he up to in this library?
Lemma has been sort of hanging out near Evelyn, but apparently doing his own thing. He's at his normal perch, which is in a room full of chairs. He's found a standing lectern that he gravitates towards. And he has a slim, very worn volume open on it. Before Soren enters, he's sort of swaying back and forth slightly and muttering to himself as he examines this book and flips through it.
So, to fully describe the scene, Soren has brought in a crate and put it down, and per heeding the sign, then walked away. And in the dead silence of the library, Primer Cathania has taken a crowbar and neatly, with a professional's experience, and quite loudly pried open the top and dropped it to the ground. So that is the sound that you hear. And she succinctly puts the crowbar down on her desk, lets it make the sound that is required of that, and starts taking out the books and is sorting them. She's not looking at anyone, she's just looking at the books, and the books wind up in 3 piles on her desk. There's a pile near her. It's a very large desk. So just like towards her, there's a pile in a far corner that kind of near Evelyn, like towards Evelyn. And then there's a pile on the complete other side of the desk that, now that you mention it, kind of towards Lemma. And then she's looking at something that remains in the crate. Do either of you do anything before I continue?
Lemma watches all this happen, and then in the beat after the books are laid out, his eyes flick to Evelyn, because he knows that she's going to do something and he's curious to see what it is.
She approaches the desk. Do you need assistance putting these away? I could take a pause in my studies if there's anything you need. If they need to be written into a book or catalogued or whatever, I can help.
She straightens up. She looks at you. One finger up, rests atop the sign.
Of course, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so terribly sorry. I'm
The
sure.
finger lifts up, returns to the sign.
Evelyn pointedly closes her mouth and steps back.
And she smiles. And then she raises her hand and holds it up. So to say, like, pause. And then she gestures to the pile of books that are nearest Evelyn.
Evelyn goes to the books and takes them.
Yeah, she gestures you away.
Yes.
And then I'm going to say up front is that then she turns her back to her desk. She's once again looking at what's in the crate, but her back is entirely to the desk and the rest of the room.
Lemma is just watching.
He sees Evelyn turn back, see that Cathonia's back is to the desk, and can see her physically restraining herself from going and looking at the titles of the other books still remaining on the desk, because she just got in trouble for interrupting. she doesn't. She turns back around and she heads to a table to look at the collection of books that she has been assigned.
Yeah, the books that you've been given, that you've been assigned, what are the books you think Evelyn would be most interested in at this moment, honestly?
Oh, wow.
What are like the most Evelyn books she could have ordered from Boreas?
A lot of them are linguistic to help Evelyn read and translate other books that she has access to. It's a lot of like sub-referential, her mind works in a way that is, okay, I have this question, and that question begets other questions, and those questions beget other questions and beget other questions, and each one needs to be answered in reverse order. So these would be a collection of books that are incredibly stupidly specific. Like, to answer one of those questions is an entire book that will help her move on in her studies.
Yeah. Primer Cathania does not technically have students of her own.
Yeah.
You primarily study with Primer Lapidus, who is the primer who teaches codex, magic that is learned from books.
Yeah.
But Evelyn is someone who always wants to go above, get the extra credit. Not even, that sounds negative.
It's not even. She pursues her own. She just has to pursue every lead to an end.
Yeah, and you have niche interests that are not necessarily what the class is. So you're always in here. There's always something that's not in the library that you want to know more about. And Cathania is not giving you a lecture on it, but
encouraging independent study.
Well, here are these books. Yeah, exactly. She is a big believer in independent study.
As Evelyn settles down with her books and resists her urge, Lemma returns to his volume, mutters for another 10 seconds, and clearly finishes the book. Like in the way that some people, when they finish a book, will actually close the back cover so it's on the front face, and then he whisks off the lectern and walks quickly to Cathania's desk. Lemma, by the way, I don't think I visually described him, is wearing this sort of very, very sober, plain, sort of gray wrap tunic that's belted, and a collar around his neck with a kind of wooden gorget, like an elaborately carved wooden placket on his breastbone that has iconography of the Queen of Rain on one side, the Queen of Harrows on the other, and this sort of inky opalescent blackness in the middle. And he's wearing travel boots. He arrives at the desk. He very precisely places his book at a right angle to the edge of the desk. Onto the desk, he looks at the stack of books he's been offered, and he takes only 2 of them. The rest he slides back.
Do you choose to, or do you just take the top 2?
I specifically, there are certain books here that I reject, and there are 2 books that I accept. One of them I accept very openly. The other, as I've taken the first book, I sort of turn back, slide the other book towards me, and kind of slip it into my palm, so it's, as I walk back to the lectern, it's behind my thigh from Evelyn's point of view, so it's hard to see.
Is that one the fiction book?
That is a fiction book, yes. The title of this book is The Fortunes of Penelope Belvedere.
Then my question, in terms of the second one, do you choose one that is very plainly relevant to your studies here? Because there's one in there that is sort of a history of traitors and heretics. Top book, plainly relevant to your field of study.
Yeah.
Second book, say the title again.
The Fortunes of Penelope Belvedere.
That's the second book, Fortunes of Penelope Belvedere. When you pick those 2 up, there's a clearly very old book that's The Heretics of Lacuna.
So, in fact, I think looking at this stack, if the top book is relevant to my studies, I explicitly reject it.
The whole stack?
If the top book, no. So any book that is relevant to what the Conjuries believes should be my studies, I do not take it.
That one's just like the
Poetics 101 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
That's just to cover Penelope.
I see. Understood. Well, I don't take it. But I notice the book about traitors and heretics, and I seem to gravitate towards it. It seems to call me. And I do take it. And I bring it back to the lectern.
And as you're about halfway, I think you both hear, Evelyn and Lemma, you both hear a large thunk on the desk as she's taken this big tome out from the bottom of the crate. Should you turn and look,
Oh, yes,
you will see her turn her sign around from walk away to come talk to me. And then she calls out, Lemma, Evelyn, come look at this, if you're not too busy.
Oh, no.
Lemma very quickly goes to the lectern, puts his Traitors and Heretics book on the lectern, and slides his other book into his satchel that he has propped against the wall, and then comes back.
I've been trying to get my hands on this for a while, actually.
What is it?
An old friend of mine, one of my few friends from the Vespertine conjuries, she told me about this. Not a lot of art books going around these days, especially of older works.
How old?
300 years, at least. Some sort of poetry maintained it. And she flips it open to its natural, center fold. I'm not totally sure. I don't have a plan for it yet. I've just been trying to get my hands on visuals from the past. Something's been bothering me a little bit, bugging me about how we see things. Sorry, Evelyn, I know it bothers you when I complain about the other conjuries where you grew up, but man, they're a bunch of sticks in the mud, and they really hated when I asked questions about the kinds of things we see and don't see, the kinds of things that got shut behind the caudal ward, along with the bad stuff.
Well, they're very, set in their ways.
Oh, I'm aware. And, 300 years old isn't that old when we're talking about the caudal ward, but it's a start. You two have young eyes, so let me know if anything just jumps out at you.
Oh, well.
She's slipping through, and without even having to roll, she seems just pretty genuine about it. This all seems pretty on the face. She's always been relatively frank as a person, so it doesn't seem like, this isn't quite like slipping Lemma a trashy novel. She's not sure what she's looking for, and she kind of wants another set of eyes. And she likes the kids. She's cranky, but she likes you guys.
This is exactly the type of request that makes Evelyn very nervous, because there is no correct answer. It is just trusting your instincts based on what you see. But so she does the only thing that she knows how to do, which is double down and really stare at everything, every page that gets turned, every piece of art in it. She's really concentrating really, really hard on seeing what she sees.
Well, I've honestly been talking a lot as the GM, and Daggerheart is so much about collaborative storytelling. So would you two create some art for me? Would you each describe a piece in this book?
What is the book called?
Ooh, it's called Great Works of a Great Realm, Moments of Lacuna.
I think, so Lemma is perhaps with less rabid focus than Evelyn. He is also intrigued and also likes Chthania, and she's showing this to us and wants to demonstrate appreciation. He's observing the book, and the pages flip open to reveal a striking monochrome woodcut, and it depicts a figure with shut eyes apparently receding backwards into a circle of blackness. And around the circle there's this corona of black flame. And on a closer examination, it becomes clear that this isn't actually a woodcut. Every part of the page that is black is actually words printed impossibly small.
Chthania's face is very still. You've both seen this face before. It's a thinking face. Why don't you both give me some sort of instinct roll if you'd like to read more? Because this is something neither of you have ever seen anything. Unless you think Lemma has, if this reminds him of anything from his community. I don't think Evelyn would have seen anything like this.
I don't think it reminds Lemma of his community, but it does have an effect on him. Yeah.
Yes, I would imagine. And darling listener, we'll talk a little bit more about communities later. We have a homebrewed one for Lemma that is quite lovely.
Then I think Evelyn is rolling more based on Chthonia's reaction to Lemma's reaction. And I'll just make a straight up instinct.
Yeah, make any roll. Both of you make any roll you'd like, whether it's about Chthania or the piece you're looking at.
Well, I do have a community thing that might
You do.
help.
You're of the lore-born
Yes,
community.
I'm well read.
And listener, whenever we say born for a community, that's with an E on the end. Daggerheart communities, born as in to bear, not as in born from. It's very interesting. Say yours again, Katie.
It's well read. You have advantage on
Yeah.
any rolls you make that deal with the history, culture, or politics of a prominent person or place.
Mm-hmm.
So this may not be a prominent person or place. I think Evelyn's instinct is to make a knowledge roll. Whether I
All
have
right.
advantage or not, I leave in your capable hands. But that's what I think.
A D12, please.
Oh, 2.
You
Plus
know that we
2 is
don't
4.
spell great that way anymore. You know that this is an old-timey spelling.
Right. Okay. Evelyn looks expectantly at the others. Like, no idea.
I think Lemma's trying to do two things at once. He's trying to have no visible reaction to this, and he's trying to understand what Cathania's reaction is. And it doesn't matter what I'm trying to do that with because I rolled a 1.
I will say that for the both of you, and you have no idea if this is true for Cathania or not, the words that make this up, you don't know whether or not they're in a language you can read because they are blocked by the caudal ward, essentially. This is one of the things that you know that if you were more powerful, you can't tell how powerful you would have to be. You are seeing this the way a lay person would see this.
Right.
This is like a reminder of what life is like for normal people, that it's not literally about what's in front of you. It's not literally about turning your head or darkness. You are seeing words. It's not even that they're blurry exactly. It's you don't have the apparatus to recognize them. There's a veil. They're behind something, supposedly for your own protection. But as Cathania just said, the bad stuff got shoved behind this ever-present ward, but maybe other stuff did too.
This is a player question.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to our kindling, is
Yes.
that how we experienced the world? I'm assuming, since we didn't know whether or not we would kindle, that is how we used to experience.
You always had more access. You always had an awareness.
Okay.
The boundary was always fuzzy.
Mhm.
So you were always aware that there was more to see that other people didn't.
Okay.
So that's a good distinction because a normal, like Soren, as smart and lovely as he is, would look at this and probably not know that there were words
there.
actually. He'd probably, like, he wouldn't know that there was something he couldn't see. And so because you were born with an awareness, before you were kindled, you'd probably go, oh, it's weird that that's fuzzy. Like, there's something weird about this. And now that you're kindled,
Not enough to
you understand better. Like, you could feel a power that wants to read those
Okay.
words.
Yeah.
But you don't have enough power or enough access to your power, enough control over your power. That's the best way to put it. The poetry within you, which is what you call your power. The poetry wants to engage with the ward that is hiding those words.
Okay.
You need to learn how to use the poetry within you.
In order to do that. That's fascinating.
But you can tell that this is, like, you know that there's no poet strong enough to remove the ward, you know? Like, you go out to the woods and, you know, Primer Mantua is the most powerful poet. Evelyn, you've never met a more powerful poet, maybe as powerful at the other conjuries, and she's the most powerful any of the others have met. Cathania's very powerful, not quite as powerful. You're pretty sure Cathania cannot read this. Just some things are a fact of the world, you know? But this is very weird. Mantua said that thing at the beginning about the stuff behind you doesn't feel like darkness.
Yeah.
You don't feel weird that you can't see literally behind you. You know, this feels weird.
So Evelyn opens a line of telepathy between herself and Lemma.
Oh, right. You can do that. That's a power you have.
This is very weird, isn't it?
Given that I rolled a 1, when you open a line of telepathy to Lemma, it's like turning on a radio and find that it's been left on full volume. It's a storm of inner thoughts. That when he realizes your presence, he tries to tamp down and curtail.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And he very stiffly kind of glances at you and doesn't respond. He just stares at you with eyes like a scared horse.
Evelyn nods and cuts off the line of communication. But she's looking at him like apologetically, and I get it.
Cathania glances at you both and turns the page.
Oh, when she does, Evelyn gasps. The artwork on the page is like an oil painting that is it seems to be like a theme with what was on the last page. It's a shadowy, stormy, murky landscape, like a crossroads on the outskirts of a town with a sort of fuzzy impressionistic lantern that's not giving off much light. It's clearly raining, and there's a figure at the center of the painting that is like dual headed, but it's it's like a single body, a long sinewy body with that seems to dissipate into shadow at the edges and sink into the ground. There's no real clear delineation, but it is vaguely humanoid. And one of the faces is hooded, completely hooded and head bowed, and the other has their face up to the sky, eyes closed, mouth open, and rain is cascading down the features of that figure. And Evelyn seems surprised by her own reaction to it and looks at the others a little embarrassed.
As in the gasp?
Yeah.
Cathania looks at you and considers you a moment. Have you seen this before, Evelyn?
I couldn't say where, but
Roll something.
roll. What would be memory?
Knowledge says recall as one of its verbs.
Yeah, that's total of 6.
Did you add an experience? Don't you have one that you changed?
I have the art of conversation, and I can find that for you.
I can find that for you. Just
Then that's 8.
8.
It might be a dream, is what she is thinking. That's where her line of thought goes. The version she has in her head is more exaggerated than what she's seeing on the thing,
Yeah.
as if this
Oh.
image has been animated somehow in her mind, and this is a still from that animation, like there's no film, but if there was a film or a memory that's
I'm going to tell you something she thinks of once Cathania asks.
Great.
Though she has no idea if this is actually why she gasps, like if what this is. She just thinks of how poets generally are sometimes thought of as being blessed or kissed by the Queen of Rain. That the realm of Lacuna is ruled over by 2 immortal sisters, the Queen of Rain and the Queen of Harrows. I am now explaining this far into episode 1. The Queen of Rain being associated with luck and serendipity, and the Queen of Harrows being associated with planning and just desserts. And most things in the realm are of both, one way or the other, but the aspect of the creation of poets is colloquially thought of. The folklore of it is associated with the Queen of Rain. And it's ironic, you realize these thoughts are piling on top of each other, as, a chain to a chain to a chain to a chain, as perhaps your way of thinking often is. Yeah. That's ironic because your kindling you associate with fire.
Mm-hmm.
And now to connect these two thoughts, you're no longer thinking of your kindling, you're thinking of, it's like a dousing.
Yeah.
So now you really don't know why you gasped.
Yeah.
And so perhaps you just shrug to Cathania.
That is.
I can't imagine you have an answer.
Sorry, Evelyn is very rarely at a loss. This is the type of thing that frightens her. Things that can't be explained, things that can't be researched. Very often internal, very often emotional. This is the kind of thing that makes her shut down.
Cathania clearly didn't expect you to have an answer. She was just reacting to your reaction.
Yeah.
To be clear, when she opened the book to where it fell, the original artwork was a forest scene like a tapestry. You didn't look at it closely, but it was nothing that make either of you gasp. She turns back to it now to compare. And you look, please, everyone roll to see if there's anything odd about this one.
2.
11 knowledge.
You got 11 and 2 plus any bonuses?
Nope.
That includes my knowledge bonus.
That includes my instinct bonus of 0.
You could both probably add 2 for the Poet of Lacuna.
So 13.
Lemma declines to use his Poet of Lacuna experience.
I see how it is.
And I think this is when Ginny walks in. We'll resolve those roles in a second. Ginny, you walk in to see Lemma, Evelyn, and Primer Cathania poring over this very large book on the Primer's desk. And given the roles before, we'll give you for free that Lemma and Evelyn look stressed.
Before I cross over the threshold into the library, I pause outside the doors and I gather myself am still feeling a little embarrassed is probably not the right word for what I feel, but I do feel a little ashamed of how I acted in front of Primer Mantua and jumping to being scared. And I'm feeling a little ashamed about that. And I also feel a little guilty that others may see it as an understandable white lie saying I was fine to OrLeon, but I feel a little guilty. And that feeling makes my horns itch. So it takes me just a moment to put back on it's a naturally sunny disposition that I normally have, but something in that lesson is still bothering me. And also knowing that our timeline got moved up and I'm very used to things happening in certain orders, and it seems like maybe we're doing things out of order. So I just take a breath and then I open the door and I cross the threshold into the library and see that my new friends, hope we're friends, are looking a little stressed out, but I go ahead and move forward towards the desk and try to politely insert myself into the conversation. Hello, everyone. Is everything
Ginny,
okay?
probably.
Evelyn takes her cues from Cathonia in this instance. She doesn't know, like, is it okay to show Ginny this book? Maybe Ginny will have an opinion on it. Maybe there's some other motive here. So she kind of looks up at Ginny with a welcoming smile, but then immediately looks to Cathonia.
Cathonia waves Ginny over and then holds her hand up to halt her when she gets close.
All right, I halt very suddenly and kind of grasp my hands together in front of me, not knowing what's happening.
Then she looks up at Ginny. You're welcome to join us, Ginny, but there's something going on with this book.
Oh.
Your friends here find it disturbing, I believe, and I don't blame them, so you're welcome to turn around if this isn't how you want to spend your day.
Oh, well, Master Soren, we're leaving sooner than they thought we were going to. And Master Soren asked that I tell everyone that we should be making ready for our journey. What's wrong with this book? And I step closer to the book because I'm curious.
We're leaving earlier. That's impossible, isn't it? We're really not ready to go earlier. We need that time to go. I don't understand why the timeline's been moved up. We've just received this new shipment of books. I don't understand why we'd be leaving tomorrow. That's incredibly fast.
And
yeah.
Cathonia puts her finger on something. That's a little weird.
What's a little weird, Primer Cathonia?
The skeleton in the trees in this one.
All eyes look down at the book.
Memento Mori, I've heard of that. And she shuts the book and looks at you all. You're leaving tomorrow on that Carmel trip?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this weirdness can wait.
Oh, are you sure? I mean, I'd be happy to stay behind and continue to explore
Evelyn,
this.
We've talked about this. I welcome your curiosity in my library, but it's not to interfere with your program of study. Are you seriously saying you don't want to go to Carmel? To assist a hearth poet? Have you ever done that before?
No.
This is what's wrong with your Vespertine training. You need to get your head out of the books and actually go help people. See what it's like out there. See how normal people live. Why you exist, even.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Right. Absolutely right. Yes. I'm so sorry. Yes.
This is my fault. Probably.
No. Of course it's not your fault. It's no one's fault. Nothing's wrong. I'll go. No problem.
Rests her fingertips on the art book. No, you're right. Nothing's wrong. This book's hundreds of years old. Nothing's changed. I'll work on this. We'll talk about it when you get back.
Be careful.
No, thank you, but appreciate it. Ginny.
I lean towards Lemma. I'm thinking about a skeleton in a tree, something that Primer Cathonia said. And I know that Lemma knows a little bit more about death than most people. And I kind of lean over to him a little bit and whisper, is that what's skeleton in a tree? Is that normal?
Are you asking if it's normal for skeletons to be in trees?
I mean, I've never seen one, but I haven't been everywhere.
If you travel far enough, you'll see a skeleton everywhere.
That's a terrifying answer, thank you.
Lemma shrugs. His mind's elsewhere.
Does the phrase memento mori mean anything to anyone?
Means something to Lemma.
Evelyn is afraid to push Lemma too far after her intrusive telepathy incident.
I would say it is a rarer phrase in this world than in our own, but certainly Lemma would know it.
I think Lemma doesn't volunteer any information about this, but when Chthania mentions that phrase, it actually calms him. He's been clearly kind of breathing quickly through his nose and visibly flushed. And at that, he sort of goes still and cocks his head.
And we're going to leave this scene. We're going to regather the group.
I have one more moment that I'd like to have with Chthania before we leave.
Yes.
And I have a question, perhaps before that moment. Was there a result from our die rolls from before Ginny entered?
Yeah, Chthania rolled as well, and she found the skeleton.
Okay,
was the result.
Great. Thank you.
If we are leaving and connecting with OrLeon, as we leave, Lemma goes to fetch his satchel from the corner and lingers slightly behind the other two. And at the doorway, turns and says to Chthania, "You shouldn't speak to Evelyn like that," and leaves.
And you are gone. So you don't know how she reacts to it. You are looking for OrLeon. OrLeon has been found by Primer Ambrose, as is typically how one interacts with Primer Ambrose, is by surprise. Primer Ambrose is one of the fight instructors, especially for those who are more subtle and sneaky, for lack of a better term. As mentioned before, Augury, the harpy eagle, is his animal companion. He is an Inferis man. He has blue skin and curved horns, a tail and hooves. They are an ancestry that goes back to the beginning of mortals in Lacuna, the beginning of the Caudal Ward. They are rumored to have sprung from the Ward Vale itself, the edges where the two queens first sprung up the Caudal Ward, which no longer has a true physical location, but when it was born it did, and that is allegedly whence Inferis, though no one truly knows. Ambrose and his sister Irene teach the poets how to fight for when they want to use physical fighting, but they do a lot of things around the conjuries, and he likes to patrol the wild edges, which means OrLeon gets found by him a lot, because OrLeon likes the wild edges too. So that is where you find them. And the four of you are all gathered by the edge of the tree line towards the back of Ginny's beloved vegetable garden. Ambrose, of course, sees you approach first. He nods to OrLeon. Seems your friends have found us.
Hey, Ginny, what was the message that you had to send to,
Soren.
Oh, gosh. You know, I'm so bad with names, Soren. Don't tell him. Don't tell him I forgot his name. It's like the third time, and he's going to be really pissed at me, and
I'd like to see Soren be pissed at someone.
It's not personal. It's never personal.
Oh, I know that, OrLeon. We're leaving sooner than we expected, so we have to get ready to go. So that's all. I mean, that's what I had to go, and then I had to go find everyone else, and now I found you, and that's great.
Do we know why? Has there been any indication of why?
Primer Mantua just sent me off to Soren with a letter saying that we're leaving. She received something from Ambrose before that?
And Ambrose is still standing here.
So, Primer Ambrose, do you know why we're leaving earlier than expected?
Oh, apologies. Just a complication here. I ran into Soren as he was returning from Boreas. I just helped get a letter to her.
Oh, of course. I'm
quicker.
so sorry.
Augury helped get a letter to her a bit quicker.
Because Augury is a very good
was
girl.
not involved at all.
Yes, I apologize. I got that mixed up in my head.
But pardon, you're leaving for Coromel sooner.
Tomorrow, yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. If there's anything you need...
Can you tell us about where we're going?
Oh, Coromel.
Yeah.
A lovely enough little town. It's south of here, near the Hyperion Road, the main trade road. Well, sort of halfway. It's a bit in the middle of nowhere, is an odd thing to say, coming from us here at Larksong, but we're on the edge of something, on the edge of this wood that most people stay away from. That's why we're here, to learn about this mysterious force. Coromel's just sort of in the middle. It's not near a mysterious force. It's not quite on the main trade road. There are roads that go there, but not large ones. It's just a town, to be frank.
And there are hearth poets there.
I believe there's a hearth poet.
Do you know them?
I know of him. There's, I believe you're going to visit Poet Hawthorne. As you all know, a hearth poet is what we call a poet who is stationed in one place, who is the caretaker of a specific town or community. Not a windward poet like I was before I became a primer. I believe he is old friends with Mantua, and I'm not sure if there was some small problem, or if you were just sort of, seeing how it's done. But yeah, there's not much to say about Cornwall. I've passed through. It's very nice. There's a mine.
What do they mine there?
Silver? One of the grey ones.
Iron or silver?
Iron or silver or
Nickel?
pewter? It might be nickel.
Lemma very quietly says, pewter is an alloy.
Alloy?
Or it's when you blend two metals together to make a third thing. Never mind.
I'm
Not
more
important.
of an
Shouldn't have even
animal.
asked.
I'm the animal kind of nature person. And he summons a swarm of bugs. And his hair gleams. He summons a swarm of bugs and is so hot. I'm just gonna informed attribute. He's very sexy. And you look at the bugs, and then you look up, and he's gone.
He's always doing that.
Yeah.
And then Augury eats a bug.
So what should we do until we leave?
Well, if you have everything that you need, or if you don't, probably should go grab some stuff. Soren wants to leave really early in the morning.
Is there anything you all do want to do, or shall we just skip to the morning?
During dinner, Lemma tries to find Primer Mantua.
She's not hard to find while the sun is up. She is a shadow for no reason.
He approaches her and says, Primer Mantua, may I speak with you?
Of course, dear.
I was wondering if, as this trip is happening, if my situation here is going to be resolved.
Do you mean regarding your family?
I mean, given that I have not demonstrated any aptitude for poetry, whether I will be allowed to return to them.
I hadn't realized you still felt that way, Lemma. I confess.
He just regards her, just waits for her answer.
She is going to slowly but smoothly, so he does have a chance to interrupt her, put a hand on his face, like in an elegant, long motion.
He sort of stiffens slightly, but doesn't quail or move.
How has your time been here, other than that?
Everyone is very kind, Primer Mantua. I must confess, I am sometimes frustrated that I am here because of a mistake or a misapprehension. I appreciate all that you've done for me and the care that you're taking of me, but it's clear I shouldn't be here.
Do you know I so admire the work your family does? Your community? The elegists? So many people in this realm have no access to our understanding, she gestures to herself, a poet's understanding of time, life and death, especially for an elven person like myself, for whom it's different. For there to be lay folk such as your family to travel and ease others through grief, through this incomprehensible, inevitable event. It is a great work. I have never understood why it cannot coexist with poetry, though. Could you try to explain it to me?
Lemma looks at Mantua very fixedly.
And the shadows pull away a little bit from her face. There's still a veil, which I think Lemma in particular might find comforting, but it's more of her face than you've ever seen it once.
I think Lemma is slightly suspicious of being patronized in a way, like this appears to be a ploy to talk him around, but he kind of comes back to the sort of statement of purpose of his familial order, and he says, well, Primer, the work of the Elegists is to guide those who pass and those who grieve through their journey into the unknown. It is a transition that is rife with fear and rife with hope, and we help people resist both of those. We help people accept. I believe you know this. The credo of the Elegists is that it is not only useless to hope for what cannot be, but wrong to tempt people with the possibility. I do not resent you or the other primers or the other poets for this work, but it is not my work. It is not what I was meant to do, and I do not understand why I am here.
Thank you, Lemma. I hope to never be dishonest with my charges, and I don't think I have been with you. Further, I don't think you know that you've ever been dishonest with me. You've not accepted hope or fear. Do you know that our two queens have been called the Queens of Hope long ago when I was young?
I think the idea that this sort of rings bells, but is maybe a little bit curious to Lemma.
And genuinely, he might never have heard that. It's very old.
Yeah, he just inclines his head.
You're going to need to accept some aspect of life, whichever way you seek to deal with death. And you're not accepting your own reality, Lemma, which I understand, because you have been dealt with very harshly. For now. I'm very happy to have you here.
He steps back, and he says, am I to understand that I will remain here and join the journey to Carmela?
Tomorrow, yes.
Thank you, Primer, and he leaves.
Lemma, stop.
He stops, his back to her.
Nothing in your situation has to be permanent. I don't know. I cannot make you promises about your family and your community. Please be open to what you have here. We might be able to create something new, to forge something new. But you have to be open to what's in front of you. You have to turn your head and look. That's all. You can go.
He turns his head, looks her dead in the eyes, and says again, thank you, Primer, and leaves.
And night falls, and the sun rises. As usual, one of the first things you hear in the morning, along with the rooster, is Soren whistling and singing to the horses in the stables. It's a little quieter today, the more perceptive of you notice. Mantua sends you off, and you are in a cart with two horses along the Oxgang Road, a small but well-ish maintained road, roughly a day's journey to Coromel, towards the center of the realm of Lacuna. The sun climbs, appearing to be a lovely day, only a few clouds. Soren is talkative as usual, telling you yet another story from some job he's done or life he's lived that makes him sound far older than he seems to be. As we get towards noon and you're further along, you can no longer see the conjuries or really any fortifications, buildings, etc. He's very vigilant. He quiets a little. He's clearly looking around.
I think Evelyn sits up front with Soren to engage with those stories. But at the same time, she's got like a little mini book and a little notebook, and she's working on a translation of something just sort of in her spare time. But she's also keeping up the conversation, and anything to not have to relate to anyone her own age is a good distraction. So Soren being a little bit older, that it's what's keeping her from panicking on this trip.
So you grew up on the lake, on the Vespertine Lake. That is good for fishing. It is not as good as up by Boreas on the bay, but it is still very good for for fishing if you want to own your own boat, because it is smaller. You can get your own little boat and make your own business. You don't have
That's
to.
what I understand. There were many little fishing villages all around the conjuries there.
That is good. Did you know many fishers? Because I know a few. I mean, obviously, since I was there, it was a long time. It was a long time ago, though. So, and you are young, so we probably don't know the same fisher.
Probably not. I sometimes just made my way through there and said hello to people and got to know them and a little bit. But they were always very busy. And of course, they work very, very early hours. And by the time I would come through in the afternoon, most of them would be having their final meal and settling in for the day.
When we are back, I will have to roast some fish for you. I've never roasted fish for you from the stream, because you've probably had in the Vespertine way with the lemon and the
Yes,
leaves. I've
and the
never done that.
rosemary, yes.
At Song, yes.
Oh, I would
That will be
love
wonderful. The children will love it.
Oh, she gets very misty-eyed for home.
In Boreas, they eat it, whole fish.
I know. I don't like it
with all the bones.
With the bones,
I don't like the head of a fish. I think
it's very disconcerting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That is the word. I could not remember. Disconcerting. Thank you.
Yes.
You know so many words.
Well, very well read.
OrLeon was, as much as he was trying not to listen and just to hear the sounds of the birds and whatever else there was out by the side of the road, he couldn't help but perk up when Evelyn talked about how she likes fish, and he says, listen, fish with the head on is fish where you know the creature that you're eating. It only tastes as good as the life that it lived. And you can only see the life that it lived when you see the whole animal. You don't know what you're missing. Trust me, you need to have fish. If we ever make our way back to Boreas, you gotta try the fish there. I know a place. And you will have fish that will change your world.
Ellen, when you first start talking about knowing the whole fish and the lives they led, she looks intensely sad. But then as you say, like, oh, if we ever go there, I'll take you to this place and make it personal and familiar, she kind of perks up and is like, oh, that would be very, very nice. I would like that very much. I do like to try different things.
OrLeon, I did not mean to insult your hometown delicacy. I know Boreas has excellent food. The bread, the bakers in Boreas, is the best bread I ever had. I worked next door to a bakery in Boreas when I was working for a tailor. I was not, sewing, but I was doing deliveries from the tailor shop because I worked for the person who made the needles. Is a whole story. But the bread next door, that's my favorite part, was going next door to get the bread. So I'm sorry, I have a thing about the fish heads.
If you were making deliveries in the cart traffic in Boreas and you survived to tell the tale, I know we can trust you getting us safely where we're going now.
Evelyn looks panicked that there was ever any question of us getting there safely.
Soren laughs a little weirdly. We arrive at the town of Carmela. It's not quite sunset getting there. It is a lovely mining town. Like Amber said, it is in fact silver mining. Those who were very interested, but not in fact a very large mine. There's not that much evidence of it. The silver mine's a little bit of a ways out of the town. As it's approaching sunset, you see people going about the end of their days in the small town square, talking to each other. It's been a lovely day, so people are outside. Some are having supper on the front of their homes, stoops if they have them.
Do people take notice of the cart coming through that we're strangers? Like, how small
certainly.
a town is this?
It's fairly small, like small period, not very small. Rare, not medium rare. Yes, and absolutely, the cart arrives. You were expected a day or two from now. And Soren finds a stable. You ride past, recognizable buildings, like that's probably a schoolhouse, that's probably a tavern, that's probably a small shrine to the two queens, which do exist in small towns. And there's a stable, a barn where people tie up their horses and put their wagons. Someone has clearly gone to fetch someone who has gone to fetch someone else. And by the time Soren is done, a man who was clearly in the middle of his own supper and who is wearing a long robe. There's not a uniform of a poet, but it looks kind of poety. It's honestly a little bit, I think, similar to Lemma's style.
Wrap tunic.
Yeah. He's a man in his 40s, some salt in the pepper of his hair, and a fairly neat beard. And he is hurrying over to you, trying to, counting people and figuring out what's going on, of why you're here.
Yeah.
2 or 3
Half
days early.
poet Hawthorne, I assume?
Yes, that's quite correct. If you're Primer Mantua, you've gotten very good at illusion magic since last we met.
Oh no, Prima Mantua hasn't come with us. Was she expected?
Yes, that was our correspondence. Hello, welcome to Carmela.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You, I believe, are Soren. I think we met briefly. And they shake hands a little bit awkwardly. Soren cannot remember whether or not he met this man before. That's clear, but he's going along with it. Come inside. Come sit down. Have a cup of something warm. Please, welcome.
Thank you.
He brings you into his home, which some of you would recognize as an official poet's residence. Ginny, this might be new to you. I don't know if your town, Hornsbend, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you would have had this since your community didn't always have a poet. It's like a rectory for some places. This is the home that our hearth poet always has, and that's where Hawthorne lives. So it's not necessarily that he's from here. Maybe, you don't know. He could have been assigned here, or he could have wound up here. Some poets start out as windward poets. They travel the land, and then they kind of, they find their spot. They find their true home. There are a lot of different ways people become hearth poets. This is his town now, and you're in his cute 2-room stone cottage. There's room for you all at the table by the fireplace, and he's putting a kettle on, putting away the 3 things that make it look not perfectly neat.
Evelyn will chatter with him the whole time, taking notice of little things in his home, asking about them, asking probing questions. Nothing too personal, just making conversation.
Yes, it's lovely to meet you all. You've all done names and everything. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Soren, thank you for bringing them here safely. The rooms at the inn are ready, so that's all fine. And Soren has brought him a note from Mantua that now, quote unquote, explains. It doesn't give more information than you already had, which is that she had to stay behind because of some Condries matters. Everything's all fine. Apologies that I've been caught a bit back-footed. So I suppose we
should just dive in, shouldn't we?
Yes.
As this conversation has taken place, Lemma, without telegraphing it, has taken over making the tea.
It's completely unconscious, but he's thinking about something else, and there's no resistance to someone else being his hands. He's already trying to be physically present and mentally elsewhere at the same time. Yes, we'll get you fed, and I think perhaps an early night of it, and then we'll see what we can do tomorrow without Mantua. And I'm sure we'll have a lovely time.
OrLeon has a question. Before we disperse, everyone, I've been thinking, do you think that, and Poet Hawthorne, I'd love your perspective on this, do you think they moved it up early because we need to be here sooner, or because we need to be away from there?
Oh.
I've been assuming that it was Poet Hawthorne himself who sent the message asking us to come earlier.
Well, that doesn't seem like what happened, right? Poet Hawthorne?
Oh no, I did not. No, it was not Poet Hawthorne. I learned of this upon your arrival. It's not a problem, but I have no further information to offer, I'm afraid. And Soren pipes up. Not to get into the Primer's business, but it was a letter from Boreas. I just picked it up along with the usual mail that I pick up for Primer Mantua when I get things from Boreas for her.
Where is the note that Soren gave to Hawthorne?
Where would you like it to be?
Well, I'm wondering if Hawthorne
could
like has it,
pocket.
if Hawthorne has it on his person, or if Hawthorne like took it and like put it on the
I think
sideboard.
it's probably on the table or the sideboard. I don't think it's in his. It wouldn't be something he kept.
Great.
It's not like in his inner pocket.
So let's assume he read it and like put it on his
and put
his
it down,
hutch
yeah.
or his sideboard or whatever.
Yeah.
Lemma like puts tea in front of everybody, and then just in the motion of putting the teapot on the sideboard, just goes and opens the note.
Dear friend Hawthorne, my regrets that my charges are greeting you several days early and without me in their presence. Unexpected events demanded my attention here at Larksong Conjuries, and I had to make an alteration to our plans. Soren is more than capable of looking after their safety on the roads, so that needn't trouble you. I trust you'll be able to give them a glimpse at your day-to-day lifestyle and what it is like to be a hearth poet. Apologies again, and please let me know if there's anything I can do to thank you for this favor. Yours ever, Primer Mantua, Laureate.
Lemma just takes the open letter and places it on the table in front of everybody and slides it over to OrLeon.
If you ask me to read it again.
Lemma says, I found the fifth word especially interesting.
Okay, so I've got two questions. The first is, what happened at the Conjuries that's keeping her there? And the second is, our safety on the road? Was there any question about our safety on the road?
As a GM, I am going to step in and save you some time on one thing.
Yeah.
What happened and what was in Mantua's, the letter Mantua received would have been something to investigate while you were at the Conjuries. No one here knows.
Right.
You're not going to be able to get information on that while you're here. It is a good question, but like maybe you can investigate it when you return.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes to the second one, safety on the roads. I don't want to lead you astray. I meant that as kind of just a general thing because you're like your students.
Okay.
And Soren is not going to take you back at night. As he's made clear, he's worried about being responsible for your safety without a primer. So you can go back tomorrow, but you can't go back tonight.
Yeah, that's what Evelyn is posing to the others. Is that, do we think there's something? I thought we were coming here to do something specific, but it's just to sort of observe and things. And if something's going on at the Conjuries that is more important or dangerous, or
Would someone like to give me some sort of check on Poet Hawthorne when you say that?
What is Hawthorne's emotional affect? Is it anxious, or is
that what we're checking for?
has something awful happened?
And actually, I think the first part doesn't need a roll. Who's interested? Who is looking at Hawthorne? Everyone. Well, now I've said it. Can't unring that bell. He had wanted Mantua to be here. There was something.
In her letter, she's saying, let's not worry. We can't worry about that right
Yeah.
now.
I don't think you knew if Mantua knew that.
Yeah.
But he clearly wanted Mantua's help with something.
Yeah. So right now, in our discussion about maybe we should go back because there's something going on there, and this doesn't seem that important, he's hesitating.
That's the thing that maybe you should roll on, is his attitude towards you guys.
Okay.
I think it's clear that I really wish from Mantua were here.
Yes, I rolled a 1, but that is my strange patterns number for the day. So I'm going to take a hope, even though that's dismal failure for figuring anything out of what's going on with.
So that's what it doesn't mean you succeed. It just means you
it just
get a
means
nice
I can either clear a
treat.
stress or gain a hope.
Which, dear listener, I have not really been tracking stresses and hopes this session. We are a bit playing prologue rules, so don't worry about it.
That is a special wizard ability that every day I pick a number, and if I roll that number, I get a thing.
Primer Mantua wanted us to be here. Going back, wouldn't that just be wasting time? Shouldn't we stay?
He takes in the four of you. No, you should stay, of course. Don't go. In fact, I think you could likely help. There are some things around Carmela that it would be good to have fresh eyes and ears, poets with a different perspective.
Of course, I'd love to help. How can I help?
Perhaps we should sleep on it? I'm not sure. I'd hope to get Prima Mantua's perspective on. There's just something puzzling that we've discovered that. And he looks at you all and considers you, looks at Soren. Like, for a moment, he's like, should I ask Soren to leave? Like, just like an instinctual, should I ask the non-poet to leave? And he shakes that off. He's been standing this whole time with that nervous, unexpected host energy. And he finally shakes that off and he pulls out a chair and sits with you and resets. Apologies, he says, which you can tell is just a polite habit he has of apologizing. I hadn't fully expressed this to Prima Mantua. I wasn't entirely sure how to put it in writing, but there have been things that I've been seeing, or almost seeing, and that some of the other townfolk here have been almost sensing in a way that non-poets usually don't. But I can't quite understand what it is that I'm seeing. I can't quite wrap my poetry around it. And I'd hoped having another poet, especially a brilliant one like Mantua, I just wanted to see if another poet would be able to see. I can hear, almost. I really just wanted to come look at something.
Well, we're hardly Prima Mantua, but I think we'd all be happy to assist you as best we can.
Ginny emphatically nods, her head up and down.
And he looks at Soren sort of almost for permissions, and Soren's the ranking conjuree's adult. Well, I don't know why I was afraid to bring it up. It is what you're here for. It's within the town limits. We're not going off anywhere dangerous. Perhaps early in the morning, before the miners start their work, we could go together. It's near the mine entrance. It just something feels different. No one should feel obligated, of course. We'll sleep on it. You all seem fine with it, but your guests, I don't want. Let me show you to your rooms, and I'll come rouse you quite early if that's all right, and we'll take a look and see if you experience it differently than I do.
Okay.
All right.
Of course.
As the conversation wraps up, it becomes clear that Lemma has taken everybody's cup and washed it as all of that was happening.
And Soren smiles at Lemma, like Soren Coxes. He walks you to the inn, such that it's very small, next to the tavern, not even above the tavern, and says, I'll leave you here. Wynonna will show you your rooms, and I'll come quite early. And there's a young woman, Wynonna apparently, who works for the inn perhaps, and brings you to... There are 2 rooms with 2 beds, and she says, here you are. You can split up however you see fit, and if you need anything, you can come find me. I'm actually going to be next door at the tavern for a little bit. And she eyes Ginny up and down very briefly. She says, you're new in town. I'd buy you a drink, get your story if you're interested. And she walks away before Ginny or any of you can respond.
Well, I think I'm going to go to bed, Evelyn says, and walks directly into one of the rooms.
Okay. I guess I will take the other bed in this room. I put my stuff down in the same room as Evelyn and walk back out. What are you 2 doing this evening?
I think I might go for a walk a little bit. I'm not tired yet.
Yeah,
might just walk
stuck
around
in that court
a
all
bit.
day. Do you mind if I join you?
Of course not.
Lemma has already popped his bags down in the other room and is by the door expectant, as though he had already planned to go, and sort of cocks his head that it would even be a question.
Okay. Well, let's go.
He has his weapons, by the way.
All right. Well, let's go for a walk. Evelyn, do you still want to go to bed?
If you come back into the room, Evelyn is not going to bed. She is pulling pages out of her pack and pen and an inkwell and looks ready to maybe write a letter.
Well, then I poked my head back into the room and said, Evelyn, I know you said you were tucked in for the night, but we're going for a walk if you would like to join us.
Oh, me? You want me to? Yeah, all right. She looks a little regretfully at the pen and inkwell and paper, but she sets it aside and she buttons up her coat and just, all right.
Come on.
The impression she doesn't get invited to do stuff a lot.
Well, let's go out into the square, see what's going on. So we walk out of the inn, and look around. Is there a street that looks more interesting than the others, Asteria?
Not really. There's one street, I think, that goes to. So there's a little hubbub in the tavern, and then there's a street that I think goes obviously towards the mine, but there's other stuff en route.
Mm-hmm.
There's like one larger building that who grew up in a town? You did.
I did. Yes.
That you would probably guess is sort of like an all-purpose building for larger gatherings.
Okay. Like a town hall.
Yeah, like a town hall. There are more homes and businesses such that they are, like the tradespeople would have their shops down that way.
Okay. And does the other way go out of town?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, looks like there's just one way to go.
And there are like little side paths, to other rows of houses and such.
Maybe we should go near the mine.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to see it tomorrow anyway. We might as well learn the way.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
All right. We start trying to navigate our way in the direction of the mine.
It's after dark now, but there's a moon. There's some lanterns in the houses. You can see where you're going. You walk towards the mine. As Ambrose had said, there's not a lot around here. You're not heading towards a mountain. It's a mine in the ground. There's an uphill and you're going downhill towards the cave that was excavated.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're walking, everyone give me a perception check or the like.
Still doing prologue, 1 dice. Okay.
Mm-hmm. 1 die, please.
13 altogether.
11.
Plus, is this +2 for Poets of Lacuna, or?
I mean, 13 and 11 are enough. Winona rolled poorly.
I rolled a 4.
That's what Winona rolled on her attempts to shadow you stealthily.
Oh.
As you approach what is clearly the entrance to the mines, and you wonder where in relation to this is the thing that poet Hawthorne was talking about. You don't know. I don't think you know what you're planning to do here. Maybe you do.
We're just trying to learn the way to mine.
You're just looking.
Yeah.
Hear rustling, and perhaps you engage your poetry, or perhaps you just literally turn your head and look.
Is someone there?
Yeah, I turn and look.
Is that
She tries to muffle her little cry, and there, jumping backwards out of the shadow and the shrubberies, is Winona, who was following you until a lizard ran right up her leg, scared the hell out of her. And this,
Are we fighting the lizard?
yes, get that asshole lizard. What a creep. Ginny,
Yes.
would you describe Winona for me? She's pretty cute.
She is pretty cute. I did notice that when she was talking to me before. She is a petite woman, but has a very, though she be but little, she is fierce kind of aura to her. Curly, dirty blonde hair and dark, very cunning eyes. She's small enough that she should be able to blend into the darkness, but for some reason she just can't do it.
Yes, and those eyes betray enough cunning that she knows there's no point in bullshitting you all. She's smart enough to know when the jig is up. And she looks at you all and dusts off her skirts. Says, "What are you four doing sneaking around in a strange town after dark?"
Just learning our way around.
OrLeon says, "What are you doing following 4 strangers sneaking around in the dark, Winona?"
"I was snooping after the first interesting people I've seen in 2 years. If you're trying to steal our silver, you're better off with the forks and spoons in the tavern."
Oh, we would never. What a horrible thing to think. We wouldn't do that to you.
Well, just saying, it's a lot easier than prying it from the walls of the mine with your bare hands. That's all I can think of.
Well, I'm very good at prying things out of walls with my bare fingers, I have you know. But no, we were not trying to steal from you.
Winona looks at you like, that sounds like that should be a double entendre, but I'm not quite seeing it.
Ginny stammers. I'm just saying I'm very strong, okay?
Oh, Right. You guys are poets, right? Everyone's saying that's why you're here, that you're from the what's it called? The Condries over in Larksong. Is that why you're visiting Hawthorne?
We're revising poets, yes.
Right, right. Are you doing poetry at our silver?
No,
Well, not
we're really
yet.
just looking around.
But we're supposed to do some poetry around your silver tomorrow, but we don't know why.
Has anything strange been going on here lately?
Oh, you're here about the thing?
What thing?
Ooh, what thing?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what it is. I'm not a poet. But everyone's talking about it. And
What did they say?
she points, and you see 10 feet past the mine entrance, there is a much smaller entrance, much smaller little cave entrance that has obviously, you can see where vines were hacked away, that it was recently uncovered.
When did that happen?
We found it a month or two ago. There's some sort of shrine or tomb. I mean,
A shrine to what?
nobody knows, not even Hawthorne. We can tell that there's something there. Like he says, he can sort of hear words, but doesn't know what the words are that he can hear. But it feels like he's talking about hearing words that are written. Like he doesn't mean there's a sound. It's just how he is a poet. He talks about hearing things.
Evelyn looks to Lemma, thinking about what they experienced when looking at the image in the art book. That feeling of knowing that they were words but not being able to understand them.
She mentioned the word tomb. Is there... I think that kind of locks Lemma into listening to this space more. Does anything about this space feel redolent of a grave site or a place where people passed?
That depends. What is Lemma open to in this moment? Would an elegist know, or would a poet
I think
know?
there's that part of Lemma that he always thought was just part of being an elegist that was always a poet.
All right.
That is, he's not really thinking right now about his circumstances. He's just hears the word, basically here's the context of this is a place where those who died are remembered. And a part of him
Here's what I will
reaches
tell you.
out to find out more.
You think about Cathania looking at that book, seeing a skeleton and saying Memento Mori. And you, as you're trying to feel, is this a tomb? And you just hear the word, especially as this girl Winona has talked to you about, has just said, oh, Hawthorne, his poetry, he hears things. It doesn't necessarily mean it's actually a sound. She doesn't know. And you hear the word in your head, bones. Not a voice you specifically recognize. It's not your own voice. I don't think you think of it as a voice per se, but the word you hear very clearly is as though an answer to your question. You hear bones.
Lemma approaches the opening.
Oh, be
in the
careful.
brush.
Go for it.
You're the little devils on your shoulders. Yep.
And Evelyn,
angel and devil
I
on the
think you
shoulder.
just, I'm going to say you remember as you say, be careful. You remember saying that to Cathania and her saying, no, thank you.
I follow behind Lemma just in case anything comes out, and I don't want anything to hurt him.
I'm following as well, just because I'm super curious
Who's last?
and drawn to some of the same things, drawn to the mystery and drawn to the presence of death, I think.
I'll be last and sort of looking behind and around.
You look behind and see Winona, who says, I didn't even have to ask. You guys are interesting. So it's not cramped small. You know, it's not like a full cave, but people have clearly worked on clearing it. You can't go two at a time, but, you know, you're not worried going one at a time. The tallest of you maybe has to stoop a little bit. And you hear Winona, you know, gets a little dark for a minute, and you hear Winona from behind going, don't worry, it's just a little further. And one of you might think it's weird that there would be light at the end at all. You know, lanterns would keep burning. But then you remember they have a poet. He probably did magic about it. Someone tell me what they're thinking in this moment before we come out of the other end.
Evelyn is a little suspicious of Winona, who is suddenly like, yeah, no, go further into the cave. And so she kind of steps back and gestures for Winona to go ahead.
And Winona's like, oh, all right. And you can sort of squeeze past each other, and there's a little bit of...
Do I give her the front or do I give her the
Yeah.
back? Yeah.
I think it's sort of a moot point for Lemma because he is like really more interested and engaged and fixated than any of you have ever seen him. He seems really drawn to whatever is in here. So he is leading.
Yeah. And Ginny's like, I don't think we should be in here, but I don't want to leave Lemma on his own just in case anything happens. I don't want anything to hurt him. So,
Ginny, you also feel a little bit of that feeling that wasn't hot or cold
okay.
that you got off of that strange beast.
Okay.
And you remember, you don't feel it again,
Mm-hmm.
but you suddenly remember that hand that held you back. You're wondering, can I feel it? Or am I just remembering it? You know, you never felt it as strongly as OrLeon did.
Right.
Brought to your mind in a strange way.
Okay. Very uneasy. I was uneasy then. I feel uneasy now. We're also in a strange place with a person that we don't know. And we're walking into a strange cave.
We're such
Okay.
teenagers.
This may as well happen.
Yeah.
So let's
And-
just...
OrLeon, you feel that feeling over you like heat.
Yeah.
The feeling of like waves of it. The feeling that had been a hand. You now realize that was not Cosmine that turned your head.
Okay.
That was Cosmine who flicked your ear. This is someone different, it's an interesting sensation.
I look back at OrLeon because he was there last time I felt this. And I look at him with questioning eyes, essentially trying to be like, do you feel this too?
OrLeon feels Ginny's gaze, even in the darkness, and knows exactly what she's asking. And I look back both knowingly to say, uh-huh, and then shrug my shoulders as if to say, cool, what's next?
If I may, Evelyn says, and then uses prestidigitation to light the area.
Oh, that's way better. Thank you.
You can see each other in the corridor in this cave hallway. Little tiny flecks of silver dust appear here and there. And you see the backs of each other's heads. And you see as you turn that you are opening up into a circular cavern. Not perfectly eerily circular, not smooth, but almost eerily circular. Rather circular. And it was lit, but prestidigitation makes it better fit for human eyes by far. And you can see immediately why shrine or tomb, that's the effect, know for sure. But we have a very high ceilinged, very wide circular cavern that you are at one end of. There is an archway. Underneath is a large statue, perhaps? The form is fuzzy to you. For Evelyn and Lemma, it is very like the text in that book that you knew you could not make out. On the archway above it, there are what you understand are probably 4 engraved words, and you can read 2 of them. The middle 2 words are will, W-I-L-L, and fortune. As you gaze up, Winona follows your gaze and says, yeah, poet Hawthorne says there's maybe writing up there, but he doesn't know what. He could hear that there's words, but he doesn't know what words or even if they're in a language that exists anymore. There's something written at the statue thing too that he couldn't make out.
Well, show me.
So will and fortune, that's interesting because they're kind of opposites, right? Because will is like the human force and fortune is
Determination, fortune, random.
random. Yeah, what happens, right? Contingency.
So Evelyn says, show it to me. And Winona, kind of excited, you're on this cave perch, got some real poets. And she says, yeah, come here. And takes you to the foot of this massive, again, we're assuming it is a statue or sculpture. As you get closer, it seems like there's probably other stuff on the far sides of the room that's hard to make out, certainly from a distance, that might be hard to make out from closer, but Len was really excited about this. There's he knows there's a bunch of text here that he can't read any of it. And you can read all of it, Evelyn.
Mm.
Has anyone gone up with her?
I think Lemma, because that's the most funerary-looking object in the room, is immediately interested in it as well.
Evelyn would just start reading it out loud because she's 18,
To set the scene,
stupid, and has never seen Scooby-Doo.
it's 4 lines. There's no blurred text. There seems to be a blank space at the end, but it's truly just blank. It doesn't smooth. I'll read it aloud so everyone hears the same thing. What Evelyn
This
reads
is on the pedestal of the statue?
Yeah, you would guess it's a human form. It's very large, and your mind can't really comprehend it or put the shapes together. But you look at the plaque basically at the bottom, and it is perfectly clear. And this is what you're told poet Hawthorne could not interpret at all. Inscribed, chiseled in, plain as day. Bones is all they hear, those bloodless bards of story. But if you've not known fear, you never will know.
Glory, Evelyn says aloud.
You say glory. And as you say it,
The cave crashes in on us.
you all hear the word glory in your minds. Pain shoots through you all, rooting you to the ground, as above you on the archway, the 4th word, like the reverse of crumbling, the word glory appears. Will, fortune, glory. As you are rooted there, all 4 of you, you feel the intense thrill of impossible victory, the drunkening fear of unfathomable defeat. Evelyn, can you please tell me a forbidden place that you could trespass for a secret that would let you shake the world? Glorious power.
Evelyn's thoughts go to an archive of great lost archive of knowledge. That's her glory. That's her unfathomable thing. A lost library, hidden with the dead, hidden, buried, long buried. That's what comes to her mind.
As you think of it, the word glory echoes in your mind again. The voice is searching in you, delving, plumbing. It licks at that thought in your mind, glowing amidst the flames of the pain you're in, the fear that you feel, even as this memory, this thought rather, this possible desire comes up, sharp and luxurious. You don't know if this idea was always there, or if the question is mother to the answer, but you know that if you had not given the voice what it sought, pain would overtake you as the seeker rent you apart. So tell me again about the feeling you would have if you got that knowledge. Try to feel that glory for just a moment.
The glory of knowing something no one alive knows. A knowledge so lost and so forgotten that no living being knows it, except possibly the queens. That fills her with intense, almost arousal it flushes her.
Would you please give me a reaction roll with your preferred stat, and you may roll 2d12.
Great.
You may now roll all of your stat rolls with
Duality.
your 2 duality dice, 1 for hope and 1 for fear.
So I'm making a duality roll with knowledge. May I add Poet of Lacuna or any other experiences?
Not in this instance.
I rolled a 12 with hope.
All right. You withstand the pain.
Was that a success?
That is a success. You survive the search. Lemma, you were very attentive. Could you tell me a fantasy, one of unleashing your gifts against those who've forsaken you? Glorious vengeance. This is what the voice wants from you. It's searching you for it.
Lemma devotes so much energy to the kind of ethos of his upbringing, which is correctness and cordiality and respect and service. And in the past couple of months, he's been, as far as he can tell, abandoned by his parents and gently and kindly, but forced to remain at this place that he feels is not where he should be. And he's, accepted it all because that's what he's meant to do. That's what he was brought up to do, is accept. And he experiences this overwhelming, cascade of images of not accepting and lashing out. And he sees the people of the town where he was in, where this first happened, the ones who contributed to that moment. He reaches out his hand and they are consumed by black flame that consists of tiny letters like swarms of insects.
You feel the Seeker thrill within you. Please roll your preferred stat with 2d12.
20 with hope.
That certainly succeeds. And you also rolled with hope, yes, Evelyn? Believe so. Make sure to take hope tokens. And Lemma, take 2 for beating it by so much. Ginny, tell me something precious you could destroy just to prove it does not bind you. Glorious freedom.
Destroy the hand-fasting ribbons that are in her grandmother's cabinet, ready for the next renewal. And when the hand-fasting ceremonies happen, I could destroy those ribbons and not be fastened to someone I did not choose.
The Seeker wants to see your grandmother's face. Tell me about her face. You destroy them in front of her.
Her face is kind and wise, and the lines around her eyes are crinkled, normally with a smile for her granddaughter, but right now they're scrunched in anguish. The fear that she'd had that Ginny's heart would be wild seems to have come true.
When you feel the word wild, the Seeker, the voice in you flares with lust for that abandon, that anarchy. Does Ginny feel that in that moment or push it away just for that moment?
It's very conflicting. She reaches out to grab it, but at the last moment pushes it away.
Please roll your preferred stat with 1d12.
Okay. Trying to push it away, so use my strength, so +2. 11 + 2, 13.
All right. You succeed. No hope token. Not yet accessing duality dice. But the Seeker pulls out and sees OrLeon. Sees is the wrong word. Feels OrLeon. OrLeon, you feel it breathe into you. You don't inhale it. It doesn't inhale you. It is in you like a breath. And you hear it say, "No, gift giver. What I took from you, I took unwillingly, but gratefully." A thrill goes through your entire body, and you need not roll. You now have access to your duality dice. As the cave continues to shake, you hear the cracking of rock, the sundering. For a moment, it seems perhaps the entire cavern is going to collapse, but no. When it stops, you are alone. You have all withstood this release. You can now see the sculpture, the statue that was before you, though it is cracked in two. It is a very large woman with a jagged crown upon her head and 2 swords, one in each hand, and 2 swords stabbed through her own chest. As she looks up at the sky, her mouth open in joy. More text has now appeared on the plaque. The word glory, where Evelyn spoke it, and above that, "Here is Glory, the Queen of Bones." And that's probably enough for this episode.
Damn.
Thank you for listening to Queen of Daggers, Heart of Fire, a production of Hagdeal Gaming. If you like what we're doing here, come say hi on Blue Sky or TikTok at Hagdeal Gaming and leave us a review. We'd love to know what you think. And remember, as a wise person once said,
If you travel far enough, you'll see a skeleton everywhere.